Again, thank you for the invitation to be here, and I'm really honored to be not only with these wonderful three panelists, but also all of you who have been doing this work for 30 years, and I know you're all unsung heroes in so many different ways. So, but I'm just going to touch on a few of the things in my career being at HUD for now a really short time at the city. I hope maybe I do well enough I can come back next year and maybe provide a little more of an overview than what I can maybe today. But to some of the things, and some of you have heard me say this way beyond and you want to tell me, okay, Kim, that was enough. The first thing is, and I'm not beating up on HUD, my past employer, but they always heard me say this too. I feel that one of the reasons homelessness has risen is because HUD did away with transitional housing funding like about 2012. We lost DV, we lost housing for domestic violence, we lost, this is in Spokane and North Idaho, we lost housing for veterans and we lost housing for youth. They got very tired of me hearing me say this in HUD, not why I didn't have to leave, but the point of it is, that was number one. It just did not make any sense. And I am an advocate of housing first, and that's fine, but that bridge housing which is called now, is a really important piece that now is having to be done in other funding that's not coming from HUD any longer. And so that, to me, was one of those things that I wish had not happened. The second thing is in 2000, so I may be wrong on the time when the transitional housing went away, but in 2012, HUD stopped funding supportive housing for elders, for seniors, and for persons with disabilities. It was a Section 202, and a lot of you are doing those. Faith-based organizations really embraced that, learned how to apply to federal agency, and have done really well throughout Eastern Washington. When I was at HUD, I was in the Spokane HUD field office, then had to move to Seattle, and then moved back to cover Eastern Washington, so that's been my region. But when we lost those, I think we're all seeing now, especially in regards to homelessness, in our seniors, and often in the persons with disabilities, as well as everyone else. But when I was in Seattle, we were on a street corner next to Starbucks and in the federal building, and I became acquainted with an 80-year-old woman who was homeless and would be out in front of Starbucks, living on the streets until, luckily, like 2 weeks after I met her, she was finally, it's like what Ben said, it takes a very long time to get into that housing. But for me, being a senior, I just am seeing that, not that a senior is more important than their families who are living in cars, or are individuals that are living on the streets or in an encampment, or maybe moving towards permanent housing. But there's a really rise in the number of seniors, and that's really scary. And then secondary to that piece, as I've heard from a lot of the service providers, is that the population of seniors that they're seeing in the shelters have no opportunity for long-term care. And face it, those of us that are baby boomers, there's a lot of us. And the fact that is really putting, when I say stress, is not that they're not willing, the service providers are not willing to support that. But when you have a senior who needs long-term care, we need to do a better, governments, as well as governments, need to do a better job of finding ways to make those partnerships happen. So that's the other one. Also, really, because I'm already in 5 minutes, so sorry I took your time. But the last piece, which I think is an important piece, because I know the whole regional side has really struggled when they were looking for new shelters this year, is the NIMBYism in the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
I oversee the neighborhood councils, as well as the Community Housing and Human Services, which does all the homeless funding, the CDBG, the affordable housing funding. So, but I also oversee the Office of Neighborhood Services, which are the neighborhoods and community assemblies. And I'm hoping that we all can collaborate beforehand, that to find ways, because it doesn't, I mean, we all have some forms of nippiness, and sometimes we're human, but whether it's those fourplexes, whether it's an ADU, or whether it's a homeless shelter or transitional, we need to find a way to understand that everybody needs that opportunity. So that's one of the other things. And just in regards to advocacy, just kind of keep in the back of your, I don't know whether I can advocate or not. I'm sure I said I couldn't hug, but anyway,
Yes.
as an idea, I didn't think about that until I was just right here. I guess it's good I knew. But the thing is that mental beds for persons with mental illness or substance abuse. Our service providers, as most of you in here are doing one way or the other, work so hard to get individuals from one place to another. But yet, when we get them there, there's no mental health beds or there's no treatment beds. And we need to do a better job with that, because we lose them. And that's not what we want. That's what that individual or family doesn't need. Please work on housing choice vouchers, emergency choice vouchers, and VASH, which is the HUD VASH vouchers for veterans, as well as maintaining and keeping the 202-811s from HUD. Because again, especially from the senior side, they're going to be needed. And co-housing. I mean, I'm a real advocate of co-housing and payment assistance for building the wealth of families needing homeownership, being able to do homeownership. So, okay, so I'm going to stop so we have time for questions, but please, my email address, I'd say it, but you can get it from Scott as well. Please, if I'm not able to answer questions right now, email me and I'll be glad to connect back. I would love to reach out to any of you who are thinking about affordable housing but don't know how to get there, because we used to do a lot of building of capacity for faith-based organizations so that you can find ways to help the families that are in your area. So anyway, thank you for your time, and I'll give it back so we can have some questions. Thank you.